Hey guys, HuShang here. Today we're going to be learning everything you need to know to defend a 12 pool from Zerg. If you're unfamiliar, a 12 pool is the fastest possible pool a Zerg can get. It's designed to put on some pressure while transitioning into a macro game. Although the pool is quite early, the lack of gas and quick expansion make this build much more of a macro build than you might think. Without a crisp response, it can be difficult to come out ahead even if you defend the rush. I'm going to be breaking up this guide into 5 distinct parts to make sure you understand all the concepts you need to destroy any Zerg nerd who tries to 12 pull you in the future. In part 1, we'll be talking about walling your base efficiently. One thing players often underestimate is the magnitude of importance a strong wall can have on the outcome of the defense. In part 2, we'll be looking at the key signs that let you know your opponent is doing a 12 pull, and not another build such as a 14-14 all-in, a gas pool opening, or a hatch first. After that, in part 3, we'll be looking at how to micro your zealot and probe to make it easier to fend off the Zerglings. And then in part 4, we'll be looking at the build order of the defense. It's really important to have a solid plan of when to get your buildings and in what order if you want to defend the 12 pool efficiently. Then lastly, in part 5, we'll be looking at some example replays with a bunch of different scenarios to deepen your understanding. As you can see, there's a lot to go over, so let's get started right away. In this first section, we're going to be looking at some important walling features to make your defense a lot stronger. Walling might seem like a trivial part of the defense, but if you make one of the mistakes I'm about to show you, it actually makes your defense over 300% worse, so pay very close attention. In order to begin making an efficient wall, it's important to place your first pylon correctly. You want to place it so that the energy field touches both sides of the entrance you wish to close off. After this, you can place your first building on either side of the entrance. One side might be better on some maps, but it's mostly up to your preference. This next part, however, is really important. Make sure to create your entrance between the first and the second building. Trying to do so with the third building makes the wall needlessly difficult. Once you've created the entrance with the first 2 buildings, it's very easy to finish it off perfectly with the third building every time. Alright, now some helpful tips for advanced players. Always create the entrance of the wall 1 square apart and 2 squares in length. If you're confused about where the squares are, make sure you're looking at just the building grid. A common mistake for beginners is to focus way too much on the model of the building when trying to wall. It's much easier to ignore the model and instead only focus on the grid. That is what's important for the game deciding what counts as a wall and what does not. Let's take a look at why 1 square apart and 2 squares in length is better than some alternatives. In this first example, a diagonal wall, you'll see that a lot of Zerglings can attack the Zealot at the same time. This is one of the worst walls you can do, and oftentimes if you place your Zealot or your Adept slightly off of the correct position, Zerglings can even sneak by. So you want to make sure that you're absolutely never using a diagonal wall. In this next example, I have a wall with 3 squares in length. The problem with this wall is that it's very difficult to re-wall. As you can see here, I can't place a pylon behind the wall without allowing Zerglings through. You can use a gateway, however it's a little bit more expensive and oftentimes is blocked by some other buildings. In this third example, you can see a 1 square wall. This wall can be re-walled with a pylon, so it's good in that regard, but the problem with this wall is that it shares a similar, although not as drastic, problem as the diagonal wall. As you can see here, more than 1 Zergling can attack the unit unless it is very carefully placed at the back, and usually it's going to be blocking your pylon from going down to re-wall if you pull it back that far. Don't worry though, there is a perfect wall. As you can see here, this wall is not too cold or too hot. This wall is just right. So in this wall, You can easily place a pylon if you need to re-wall. And there's enough room that it's pretty easy to also place your zealot or adept in the wall and minimize how many zerglings can attack it at once. Now that you know how to wall effectively, it's important to teach you how to identify that your opponent is playing a 12 pool opening. If you can't identify the 12 pool properly, then you won't be able to apply anything in this video. So it's very important that you pay close attention to this section. Real quick, if you're enjoying this video so far and want to help my channel grow and continue making free content, I could really use your help. If you could do me a quick favor and press the like button on the video, I would really appreciate it. It makes a big difference to the success of my videos if they receive lots of likes. In this section, we're going to be talking about scouting. The first thing you should be doing is making sure you're scouting at the appropriate time. The proper scout in Zerg vs Protoss is to scout after the gateway. There are some other scout timings, but this is the most common one. If you scout after your gateway, your probe should arrive at 1 minute and 20 seconds. If you're playing against a 12 pool, you're going to see no second base. However, there are a couple of other builds that it could be as well, so at this stage it only might be a 12 pool. To confirm that it's a 12 pool, you need to see 3 eggs building or a pool is complete. The 3 eggs are all you actually need to see, but you can confirm it by scouting the pool being complete and the zerglings hatching from the eggs. Once you've confirmed the 12 pool, it's time to start executing the build order. Before we get to the build order though, let's talk about microing your zealot and your probe. If you're enjoying this tutorial so far, you might really enjoy HuShang Tutorials YouTube membership, tiers, and rewards. You'll be able to improve much more quickly with access to some amazing rewards such as replay packs, unlimited replay analysis, group coaching sessions, and a large and growing library of coaching VODs with my students. It's also a great way to support the channel if you like the content I'm creating and you want to see more content like this in the future. Alright, let's talk about microing your units. In order to micro your zealot and probe effectively, you want to first start out by placing the probe on hold position near the back of your entrance. You want to make sure there's still room for your zealot though, to run in place in case the zerglings try and trap him. As long as your probe is on hold position, the zerglings will not be able to push the probe. From here, your goal is to distract the zerglings as much as possible. Your goal here though is not to kill the zerglings, although you might kill a couple in the process. Your goal though is to delay the zerglings from killing your buildings as quickly. You're trying to buy time. Do not get overeager trying to kill the zerglings because this can easily result in your zealot getting trapped and you losing the game. Once your second zealot is out, you can usually fight the zerglings safely. However, you can also wait for the adepts to finish to really affirm the defense. And once your adepts are out, along with your zealots, you can begin counterattacking. Next, we need to talk about the build order. This part is super important so that you don't make mistakes under pressure. Imagine you're about to be promoted to Master League. Your heart is beating 200 beats per minute, and you forget your pylon. The zerglings come in, and you're supply blocked and you can't make your zealots and adepts. Oh no. This is why it's really important to have a build order. After seeing the opponent's lack of natural, their 3 eggs morphing, and their pool complete, you know that you need to prepare your 12 pool defense. This 12 pool build order defense begins by selecting your probe that was originally going to create a nexus and sending it to your wall. Next, build a second gateway on 19 or 20. Build your cyber core as soon as the first gateway is complete. Begin creating a zealot and a pylon. Do not chrono boost your zealot just yet, as you will get supply blocked. After this, you can resume your probe production. Don't forget to set up your probe in the wall like we talked about in the last section. It's a good idea to practice this defense in a custom game against AI to develop your muscle memory before having to use it in a real ladder game. And if you're still watching this video, then you definitely have a great mindset towards learning and improving at Starcraft 2. If you really want to make some big improvements to your gameplay, especially if you don't have much time to play the game, it can really help to invest in a coach to show you which skills are the most important to focus your attention on and how to use your practice time efficiently. You can check out my coaching prices at my website, which I will link right now in the top right corner, as well as in the video description. I've helped hundreds of students reach Master League, and many others reach Grandmaster as well. I would love to help you out, so if you're interested, send me a message on Discord, and we can talk about your goals and a typical lesson plan with my students. Let's now take a look at several example games to help improve your understanding of how to defend a 12 pool. You're really going to find these beneficial. Alright, so here we are in our first example replay. And I'm playing a 5.1k Zerg. And of course he's going to 12 pull me. Let's fast forward this part. Going for our 16 gateway scout. Really important to be going for at least a 16 gateway scout. Like I said earlier, you can also go for a pylon scout, but this is a little more standard, and you don't need to go for a pylon scout unless you want to be annoying and block their hatchery. So our probe is coming in here. We see no hatchery, so already a little bit suspicious. Probably some sort of early pool. I'll pause right here. We see the eggs are building, and we see 6 Zerglings pop right away. Also, 120 is the time you should be looking for this type of thing if you're doing a pylon scout. So we see these Zerglings coming out, and at this point we need to start our response. So we're going to grab our gateway on 19 or 20. Then we're going to grab our cyber core, chrono boost, or make our zealot. We're not going to chrono boost. And then we're going to make sure we do not forget this pylon. Very, very important to not forget this pylon. Obviously, if you don't build that, you cannot build a second zealot. Now this probe you want to be hold positioning. It's a little bit better if you do this in advance. I actually didn't do it in advance this game. So it's forcing me to waste a little bit of time here, just not harassing the Zerglings. This doesn't turn out to be a big deal, but of course it could be more annoying for sure. Could make the difference. Then we'll chrono boost that second zealot. Try not to let him trap us. He does trap us a little bit here, but it actually works out in my favor. He gets a little overzealous and yeah, puns, and loses most of his Zerglings. So we kept both of our zealots alive, which is actually pretty rare. You're not really supposed to keep both these alive, but if you do, it's obviously really, really nice because now we can use those along with our zealots in the counterattack. So once the second adept comes out, I'll probably start pushing across the map. And then behind this, you can kind of go for whatever tech you want. Could be a Stargate, could be a Twilight Council for DTs or adepts, or even some other techs that I can't think of right now. There's a bunch of options. Probably the weakest though is adepts, I would say. And the reason they're the weakest is because you're going to end up with a lot of extra gas with this type of build. And so if you go for something mineral heavy like adepts, it's not quite as strong. So I'm choosing to play a Stargate opening. And we're just going to be harassing here as much as we can. You don't need to accomplish anything necessarily, which is something I would try to do a lot in my amateur days. But we don't need to do anything. You just need to shade in, maybe threaten him a little bit, force him to feel like he needs to make some Zerglings, and that's pretty much it. Just kind of make him uncomfortable. You can see here that I'm adding on my second Stargate as well during this harass. And look at that, we forced him to pull his drones for no reason. So really, really nervous Zerg here. He's also got quite a few Zerglings. I think that's about 10 or 12 Zerglings. So really putting the fear in this guy. He hasn't taken his third base. So we're really starting to generate a nice lead here. Back at home, we're starting out our first Void Ray. And this is going to be especially strong because of his late third. That's going to make it so he doesn't have as good of a creep spread, and he also can't make as many queens. I found a nice little nook here so he can't surround me with his Zerglings, so I can basically stay here forever, which is pretty fun. Like, he really can't do anything about it. And we get to just continuously annoy him. I put my adepts here just so that it looked like I was going to actually go. And I'm pulling these void rays. I could have killed the overlord already, but I think this is a bit stronger. He doesn't know that I'm making voids, and he's probably not going to make a lot of queens since he's behind, unless he thinks that I'm doing something like this. Alright, I did recall my units so that I can take this third base a little bit easier. And I think we have a pretty nice number of voids, so I should be moving out pretty soon, I would think. There we go. Now this Zerg was forced into getting a very fast lair because of those zealots and adepts that were annoying him earlier. So now he's kind of in a weird position where you don't really want to be teching this fast as Zerg. You really want to instead be getting a nice drone count, lots of queens, good creep spread. And so he's in a very awkward position here. You can see he doesn't have any queens at this base. We can harass him with the void rays. And he's also taken this very uncomfortable third that allows us to kind of zoom in back and forth and just be incredibly annoying. So these are the types of things you can do if your 12 pool defense is really strong. Up to 5 void rays now, and this is where things get really bad for him. He doesn't have a spore at this base yet. He's really having a hard time going back and forth. And for some reason, this queen got out by himself. So we're going to target that bad boy down. Pull back the weakened void array. I actually was going to just run away, but I realized, oh man, this guy's like no queens. Might as well just go for this. And I don't know what happened here. Big move command there. Trying to grab that void ray, but he doesn't get it. I kill all his queens. And that is game. Alright, in this next game, I'm playing against a random player, so that's why my wall is on the high ground. Of course, not ideal. And I do know he's 12 pulling. We did scout. We see that he's expanding. So we're going to do the exact same defense. This defense is totally solid, even though we don't have the low ground wall. Grabbing our second zealot behind this. A good number to remember is 2 minutes. The Zerglings will always arrive at your wall just before 2 minutes. So if you know that timing, it's really nice knowing whether you need to chrono your zealot or make a pylon temporarily to fully wall off. Obviously, this game I have no mistakes, so we don't need to do anything like that, but at some point, you guys are going to make some mistakes in your 12 pool defense, so it's nice to know that you can make a full wall temporarily with a pylon, for example. So very easy defense here. We're going to grab our expansion, and we're going to do our counterattack. Now, this guy seems a little inexperienced, to be honest. I'm not exactly sure. I don't remember what MMR this guy is, but he doesn't go counterattack with these Zerglings. He just runs home, which is definitely something you don't want to be doing. He was trying to harass my zealots a bit there, since they were likely on a move command. But I was watching them pretty carefully, so that didn't work out too well. He tries it again, but he's losing a ton of HP, so it's really not a good play. So in this game, I think I play... I might play Stargate again, actually. I think I play Stargate. We'll see in a second. But counterattacking with these zealots, I have a stalker on the way, which is something I like to do. People can do a secondary all-in with this opening. So making the stalker can help out in case they go for something like a Baneling bust. Banelings can't really break through stalkers very easily. So just kind of a safe unit to get after your 2 adepts. Alright, so now I am trying to see what's going on. Did he take a third base? He did not. You can probably just cancel the third base if he did, especially if you've kept 2 zealots alive. Now we tried to sneak back in here with the Zergling, but we do have that stalker, so not a big deal. And we're able to put on quite a bit of pressure against this guy. Same kind of thing as last game. It's just really hard for Zerg to deal with this constant annoying Zealot adept pressure. I think it's actually like way better if you don't commit with these units. Like, as soon as you commit, you relieve the pressure, and it makes it really easy for Zerg to defend. So it's much stronger if you just continuously put on the pressure and kind of annoy them. Here I shaded in the adepts, which was actually a misclick, but it turns out not too bad. We just kind of run away from the Zerglings, kill a couple, no big deal, and get a drone while we're at it. So nice little pressure there. We're still denying his third base, and then behind this I'm going for an Oracle. So I did go for a Stargate after all, but we're not going to go double Stargate. I have a different build in mind this game, especially since he's still on 2 bases. So I'm adding on my Twilight Council and my Robo. And the reason I'm doing this is because I'm pretty sure this guy is going for 2 base Muta, just based on how he's set up. And so the plan is to get a bunch of charge lots and a bunch of Archons and just go kill him right away. We're actually really far ahead too in this game, much more than the last game. Now he's going for a Baneling bust, or a Baneling nest, I meant, which is pretty weird actually. I'm not really sure why he's going for that. I guess he thinks we're maybe going for some big push here. He didn't really scout with his Overlord. Ah, he did see my gates and my Stargate, so yeah, there's no real reason for him to get a Baneling nest at all. And oh, he canceled it. Yeah, and now he's going for a layer. He must have thought that this was a gateway, because he didn't build any spores either. So this is a disgusting Oracle. Gonna get a lot of kills with this bad boy. And this is pretty much game. We see the layer as well, which is nice. So we confirm what we were already having suspicions about. 5 kills on that Oracle. Crazy. Back at home, adding on a bunch of gates. You could just do something much more normal, like take your third base here, or yeah, and just tech up. But in this game, I am not going to be doing that. You see here that I don't have the perfect wall. It's not really a mistake. It's just that he was playing random. So I have to use this terrible wall. You can see why it's so bad. In a way though, this is kind of nice, counterintuitively, because now he thinks that he's denying my third base and he's droning up. He thinks, okay, this guy's gonna macro, but he lost all his units, so now he's delaying his third. But in the meanwhile, here we have like 10 gates coming down, and we're getting our War Prism, so we're setting up for a massive punch. Here you can see me fixing the wall. I'm done with that shit. Okay, so now we're gonna counterattack, and you can see him setting up here for a Spire, which is one of those super gimmicky builds in this matchup. It's like not really good, but if for some reason, you know, you're taking your third base and you also don't have a very good scout behind that, it can catch you off guard. So one of those builds to be really careful about. Make sure you're looking for it, and make sure you don't fall to the Muta trap. Here's our War Prism. We got 1 Archon coming behind. 2 Archons actually. And this is just a devastating attack. He still hasn't seen our third base. And for some reason he decided to drone, which is absolutely bananas. He definitely should have made Zerglings there. Not that it would have made a huge difference, but I mean, droning up when you still see that I have no third is actually insane. So Zealots come in here. There is quite a few Zerglings here, but realistically, he's never gonna kill these Archons, and the Archons are gonna do amazing against Zerglings and drones. So, not much he can do here. Really behind after the opening, and just a very difficult attack to hold. Now I have one more replay for you guys. This is another game against a 5k Zerg, and this is a game where it's quite interesting. I am trying out something a little bit ridiculous. It's a little bit silly, but it's tons of fun. So, and it's not that weak, or it might even be a really strong play actually. But okay, so I block his expansion. This is another thing you can do if they're 12 pooling, but it's a little more advanced. I wouldn't recommend it, to be honest, because it's easy to mess this up when they kill your pylon or something, and then you don't have any supply for your zealot. So you got to be careful. But a fun little tactic: block his base. I have to let this finish, by the way. A fun little tactic where we can do some interesting things in just a second. Okay, but our zealot's coming out. You can see I have not chrono this zealot, and I'm going to start the second zealot and chrono that one. So this is, honestly, this looks like the best build order so far. Oh, I missed my zealot. God damn it. Okay, so he comes in with the Zerglings. We're going to have that probe in position. This is probably the worst map for a 12 pool of all time. There's no surface area for him to be annoying. And we're going to take full advantage of that. He does try to sneak in a Zergling, which was pretty smart. And that could be devastating. So it was really important that I targeted that Zergling. And that made it so it wasn't too effective. Second zealot pops. He does get my one zealot, but this is actually much more normal than the last two games. You're probably going to lose your zealot unless the Zerg doesn't micro very well. So much more normal game here. He is killing my pylon behind this. And here's where I get some crazy ideas. I'm thinking, okay, we defended this. We got some adepts finishing up. I'm still blocking his expansion like a huge asshole. Look at this, a cyber core. And now we're gonna get crazy. We're gonna go for a shield battery rush on his second base. That is the plan right now. So I bring my probe over here. We're gonna place that down, shade across with the adepts, and we're gonna just place a bunch of shield batteries here and see how it goes. I hadn't tried this before the game, and I haven't tried it since, so I'm not really sure how strong it is, but it was really enjoyable, you know? And we're not even like that committed because we're getting our Nexus behind this. So he does see this, I believe. Oh, actually, he doesn't see this. So he has no idea we're doing this build. I thought for sure he would see that. So he has no idea we're doing this. We're going to throw down our shield batteries. Our adept and our zealots are coming in. And now he knows. So he was making a couple drones there, but now he's making Zerglings. And this is just such a difficult position here. How do you break these first couple of gateway units, especially the zealot, if there's these shield batteries nearby? He's kind of got to pull me away from this shield battery range. He decided here he's going to jump on me, see how many units he can take out before the shield batteries go up. I thought there was enough space back here for my adept to sneak by, but there was not. And now the shield batteries are done, so he's making a spine crawler, but realistically, he really doesn't have enough units to break me. And what a madman. He actually started droning. Absolutely bonkers. So now we're going to kill his queen. We're going to kill this second queen, probably. I probably could have kept going there, but I think I was building my Stargate behind this, or something like that. And I didn't want to push too far and get greedy. So I did back up a little bit there. Same thing here, I'm queuing up some units. Not necessary in this situation, of course, we can see the whole map, but it is a good habit to make sure you pull your units back whenever you're looking at your base. Almost got that queen. And we do lose an adept, so not a perfect attack here. But I think we've done enough at this point, to be honest. We've already killed a queen or two, I think. Forced him to make a bunch of Zerglings. Really just putting on a ton of pressure. And we do have the Stargate and Nexus behind this. Now this base has no creep in between, so we can really get aggressive with these adepts. Unfortunately, there was a bad shade. Fortunately, though, he let us get away for some reason. So we get a couple a couple drones here, a couple Zerglings. Things are going pretty good. And behind this, I have some more adepts on the way. I realize, okay, my warp gate's done. This guy's making tons of drones for some reason, so we might as well just put on some more pressure. We might as well get super aggressive here. And another thing that I just realized right now is these queens are really not injecting too much. So just being annoying like this is really throwing him off. Back at home, we're building up some adepts. I figured at this point, okay, he never even killed my shield batteries. So if I can just get some units over there, this guy's in so much trouble. You can also see, even though we haven't got, you know, that much damage, he's still really struggling to keep up in drones. We also have our Void Ray coming in, and our 6 adepts are going to meet up here with the shield batteries. He's trying to snipe this one, but I'm going to heal it with the other shield battery. So we're going to have both of these for the rush. And not only does he have to worry about these units, he's also got to start making a bunch of queens because I have some Void Rays on the way, which he already saw. So he just taps out. Such a dirty game. Very, very enjoyable though. Probably not for my opponent, but for me, definitely. So anyways, that is all the replays I have for you guys. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to like it and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this. Alright guys, that's it for today. I will see you in the next one.